We talk about net immigration figures, and what no one really talks about is the fact that what we're actually doing is we're chasing out all the people who create wealth and have wealth, who pay the taxes, and we're replacing them with people coming in towards the bottom of the jobs market at best, if they're actually working at all.
Writing in The Guardian, broadcaster and former banker Nels Abbey has celebrated the departure of Britain's super rich with the following headline: Britain's millionaires are fleeing. Good night and good luck, I say.
What's your assessment on the state of the UK at the moment?
At the moment, I think it's all the bright and talented people that I know are leaving. Anyone who can is. All the rich people are leaving. This country has lost more millionaires than any other country except China. Now, if you compare the populations, that tells you
3%.
16,500 millionaires have left the UK since 2017, with almost 10,000 projected to leave this year alone.
And so your net immigration figure of 900,000, that includes you having lost some of your best people and replaced them with people who are not contributing.
That's very interesting.
Is this a cause for celebration? Are millionaires bad for Britain?
Konstantin expresses deep concern about the current state of the UK, highlighting a sense of disillusionment despite his love for the country. Konstantin Kisin is a Russian-British writer, comedian, and political commentator known for his sharp critique of contemporary culture, politics, and what he describes as woke ideology. He co-hosts the Trigonometry podcast with Francis Foster, where they engage in discussions on free speech, cancel culture, and various social issues, often challenging mainstream narratives.
We're losing the people who have created the jobs, who are creating the jobs, and who are going to create the jobs. And one of the reasons is they look at the environment that we're operating in. We've talked about high energy prices, but this government has decided that the people who it needs to tax are the businesses, basically, particularly the smaller side businesses, which is where so much creativity really happens. There's all sorts of other things about infrastructure, housing, demographics.
Konstantin Kisin has expressed concerns about the UK's declining sense of safety and significant economic shifts. In his commentary, he criticizes the effectiveness of policing, suggesting that diminished law enforcement capabilities have led to widespread insecurity among Britons. He points to reports indicating stretched police resources and slower response times to crimes. Kisin also highlights the emigration of wealthy individuals from the UK. According to the Henley Private Wealth Migration Report 2023, the UK was expected to see a net outflow of 3,200 high-net-worth individuals in 2023, making it the third largest loser of millionaires globally after China and India. This trend has been attributed to factors such as political instability, changes in tax policies, and perceptions of declining safety. Conversely, destinations like Dubai have attracted a significant number of millionaires. The same report notes that the United Arab Emirates, UAE, was expected to attract a net inflow of 4,500 HNWIs in 2023, reflecting its appeal due to favorable economic incentives and perceived security. Kisin argues that this dual movement, emigration of the affluent and immigration of low-skilled workers, reshapes the UK's social and economic landscape. He suggests it could strain public resources, exacerbate crime, and challenge social cohesion, calling for urgent policy re-evaluation to address these issues.
Everyone I know who actually had a successful business that's portable, they're moving to Dubai, they're moving to America, they're moving to all sorts of other places. What they say is very simple. Well, look, I want my kids to go to a school where they're not taught that I want to pay reasonable taxes, which in some places is like 0%. I want clean, safe streets, which you do not have. And I went on the tube the other day. During daytime, it was like, I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock. And there was kids running absolutely rampant all over it, jumping over barriers, not paying, pushing each other on the escalators, smashing the stop button, like really causing genuine nuisance. And I watched the staff watch them jump over barriers and do nothing.
Recent data reveals a 56% increase in tube crime, with thefts up by 83% and robberies doubling in 23-24.
You might say, well, there's some kids not paying for the tube, who cares? If you are observing people engage in low-level criminal behavior, it makes people feel much less safe about the overall experience, because they know that, well, if they're not going to enforce this, well, what reason do I have to think that if my phone gets stolen? I know people who've left because of single incidents. I know a really wealthy guy who left the UK because he was walking out of a restaurant in Mayfair with a nice watch on his wrist and his pregnant wife. 3 guys jumped out of a van with balaclavas on, smashed him to the floor, punched him a few times, pushed his pregnant wife aside, got the watch off him, got back in their van. Police don't give a Street crime is up very significantly. And one of the reasons it's up is that it's not really being dealt with by the police. There's not a lot of money to be put into policing. And when you think that net zero is the way to prosperity, i.e. driving up energy prices because you want to feel green or whatever, you want to reduce Britain's contribution to global climate change from 2% to 1%, that's the great ambition. Well, then you're not going to have money. And when you don't have money, you can't pay police officers. And when you don't have police officers, people engage in crime.
Canadian Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre emphasizes the struggles of everyday Canadians, particularly those who feel trapped by their financial situations and cannot afford to leave the country.
When I travel across this country, I consistently meet 2 types of people. One, those who are a little better off and tell me that, and I'll be very blunt about this, that if I don't win, they will leave the country. And they are very numerous. Yes. But I don't worry about them as much. You know who I worry about? The ones who can't leave. The ones who don't know, and if I can just use very blunt language, who tell me, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I have no idea how I'm going to pay my way.
That's right. Under Justin Trudeau's leadership, Canada has experienced a notable exodus of millionaires, with Henley Partners 2023 reporting a net loss of thousands high net worth individuals. This trend is attributed to several factors, including high taxation policies like increased capital gains tax and the controversial carbon tax, which have directly impacted the financial well-being of the affluent. Additionally, there's a growing perception of political and economic uncertainty, coupled with concerns over public safety and an increasingly burdensome regulatory environment, making places like the US and Dubai more appealing for their lower taxes and business-friendly climates.
I met a waitress at a restaurant not long ago, and she came up to me and she grabbed me by the hand and she said, "You have to win." And I said, "Oh, thank you, I appreciate your support." She said, No, it wasn't a compliment. You have to win. And then she told me her story. She told me that she was working 1 full-time job and 2 part-time jobs just to pay her bills as a single woman in her late 50s. Met another guy at the Le Brat Brewery a few days ago, and you can watch the video of me talking with him. He walked up to me and he said, "I have 3 jobs and I can't make it. We're renting. We have no hope. We've given up on ever owning a home. We're renting. We can barely make it." And he said to me, "I feel ashamed when I talk to my kids because they ask me why I'm never around and why we can never have a house. And I feel like a failure." But he didn't fail. He has been failed.
That's right.
He has been robbed of the promise of Canada. It was a very simple promise, that if you worked hard, you got a good life. Now, it wasn't fancy or extravagant, but you got a house with a yard where you could have kids playing safely. And you could have a nice dog that you could afford to feed along with the kids. And your kids could play safely in the streets. That was the promise.
As millionaires leave the UK and Canada, amid rising uncertainty, crime, and declining prosperity, the question arises, can this trend be reversed? And if so, what changes must these nations implement? Thanks for watching.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Please get the fuck out of BC.
Have a wonderful day, man.
Yeah, you suck.